You're watching Talking Points, a focus on the political scene in Lubbock and across the South Plains.
And welcome back. First the Senate and now the Texas House has come through with a state budget they can live with for the next 2 years. Although some won't care for the spending cuts in certain areas to make up for weather and COVID spending. With reconciliation still to come, KAMC West Rappaport looks at how the House decided to spend $250 billion tax dollars.
Hi there. The House budget includes funding for the Alternatives to Abortion program. It also includes money for bulletproof glass for troopers' vehicles. It does not include a proposal to expand Medicaid in Texas.
Budget night in the Texas House is different. Some lawmakers tried to stick to simple math, others look elsewhere for support. Thursday night's debate was framed through the lens of an economy recovering from a pandemic.
While overall, you won't see many additional funding items adopted at this time, the committee had some very robust discussions and our responsibility to support the state's education system and how to address the uncertainty we're facing this session given our current funding situation.
Lawmakers find themselves awaiting guidance from the feds on relief money to help in decision making, leading to tough conversations in the meantime.
Is it conceivable that that guidance will be available to where you and other appropriations leaders will have the ability to start making some of those decisions here between now and the end of the regular session?
So that's a complex question. I do think some of it, the answer is yes, but there will be other funds for which the answer may very well be no.
To ready the state for when that money does come, the House approved a measure for the state to send nearly $18 billion in federal aid directly to education.
The first round of federal dollars that we got, we actually supplanted state funds with that money. We want to make sure that doesn't happen this time.
They also approved an amendment to prevent public dollars to pay for private schools.
The Senate already passed its version. Key members from both chambers will meet ahead of the May 31st deadline to iron out differences in conference committee. At the Capitol, I'm Wes Rappaport. Back to you.
All right, it is time to spend 5 good minutes now with Lubbock Congressman Jody Arrington for the latest going on in Washington. Of course, you know, some of the latest involving you happened on our border with Mexico recently, down there getting an up-close look at the migrant situation. We've talked about some things here and shown some things to folks, but what can you share about what's been really happening to people inside those facilities and what authorities are doing with all these people?
Well, I can tell you that seeing and experiencing the border is very different than just reading about the record numbers of people pouring into our country and the crime and contraband that is pouring in along with it, as our border security folks are not on task for securing the border but taking care to process families and children. You see the gaping holes for the cartels to push their drugs across, and that's why you see the increase at exponential rates. You also see these folks packed like sardines into these detention facilities where there really aren't the same public health protocols that the American citizens are having to comply with. So there's a public health risk there. But listening to the landowners and the local leaders of these communities along the border, they are completely overwhelmed and they even fear for their lives. I have ranching families for generations tell me that they can't leave their families, their children and wives at their homes. They see more dead bodies, more firearms, more destruction of their property than they've ever seen. So yeah, I think having President Biden and Kamala Harris and the whole lot of them go to the border like real leaders, listen, engage, and take action to actually stop the crisis, which is not what the Democrats are doing. They're actually passing laws that are only encouraging more people to come by providing free legal counsel, by promising amnesty and citizenship. It is the most absurd and upside down thing I think I've ever seen as a member of Congress.
The vice president's been reportedly handling some diplomatic work with this, talking with leaders in Mexico and Central America. Are there any signs that this is bearing any sort of fruit at all?
No, I think that this is a long-term proposition. I think President Trump did it the right way, which is to say, if you don't help stave off this influx of illegal immigration from your country to ours, we will deduct the cost that it is incurred by us on the monies that we give you for international aid. That's the way to handle it. Or to negotiate with tariffs like the president did with Mexico to say, we will tax and tariff your products coming out of Mexico to America if you don't help us secure the border. So it is absolutely a fool's errand for her to fly over the border to the Iron Triangle countries instead of stopping the bleeding and the complete meltdown that's happening on our border because of the Biden-Harris policies like catch and release, no notice to appear, no more accountability for sanctuary cities, no more stay in Mexico policy. The list is too long, but the sum of it is they put a big welcome mat and they said, we're not going to detain or deport you. We are going to release and reward you, and we're getting a flood, and it's overwhelming everybody.
Lubbock is voting on essentially banning abortions here, knowing that this will bring lawsuits and hoping this eventually gets to the Supreme Court and they will take another look at Roe v. Wade. What's the real talk in D.C. about the makeup of the court now, and if a change in federal abortion law is really possible these days?
I think you're going to see the court as it is today, which is a more conservative court. I don't think I'd give the Chief Justice high points as being a constitutionalist, but the majority still lean sort of originalist and contextualist. That means they are conservative, which means I don't believe any of them think it was the constitutional thing to do, the right thing to do, to not allow states to restrict or even ban abortions. So, and in fact, I'd go even further to say that they would, I think many of them believe that an unborn American has the same rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as people outside of the womb. But those are things that will be vetted by the courts, and I think in time, you're going to see more deference to states at a minimum. Maybe not a full repeal of Roe v. Wade, which I would support, because I think the court ruled in error there, but I think you're going to see movement back that way, more delegation to the states so that we can pass laws that reflect the values of Texas and the culture that we want for our families.
Kind of lost in some of the recent news was that the Biden administration canceled a $100 billion Medicaid contract with Texas. What do you think? Is this a move to try and push Texas leaders to try and come back to the feds and expand Medicaid more here?
I think you're exactly right. I think they want us to come back on our knees begging to get back into Obamacare and the expansion of Medicaid. It's a broken system that needs reform. We need a safety net for the most poor and vulnerable and sickest among us, for sure. Nobody disputes that. But the waiver allows Texas to have our fate in our own hands as we provide those services to our citizens. There's a lot of flexibility there to innovate. There's a lot of leeway for us to design it so that it best serves our citizens and meets the needs of Texas, as opposed to the one-size-fits-all top-down model that we would have to comply with if we simply expanded Medicaid under Obamacare. So I feel like it's a poke in the eye to Texas, and I feel like they want us to come back begging to expand Obamacare and the Medicaid version of that.
Lubbock Congressman Jody Arrington, always busy and always good enough to take time for us when we need some questions answered. We'll talk to you again soon, my friend. Keep working for us, and you guys have a good one.
God bless. Thanks, Brian.